good morning everybody. I've tried to meet a few of you beforehand but not made it round everybody. You know, when we did the first Mantle of the Expert conferences about 20 odd years ago, nobody knew a thing about Mantle of the Expert. There were hundreds of people came, literally, and they came because Dorothy was famous, not because they knew about Mantle of the Expert, but they had an opportunity to spend the weekend with Dorothy, so they came. You're here because there's a Mantle of the Expert network. So there's information around here in the West Midlands. There's Gavin Bolton's book. There's mantleoftheexpert.org, where you can find all about it, lesson plans, suggestions, you name it. And I bet there isn't a single person in the room who hasn't got a computer. Dorothy never invented a method of working out of the air, just for fun. If she invented a new way of doing drama, it was always in response to need. Either her need, if she was teaching, or a student need, if she was planning with a student. Dorothy always said that Mantle of the Expert is the least dramatic of all drama modes, but it is the strongest on education. But, it's a really big but. To do it well, you need to have at your fingertips every single drama convention that was ever invented, including theatre. Coffee table. Put something, a coat or a chair or something to be the coffee table. Right, the whole space is the flat, okay, right? And somebody with a chair, I need a dining chair, so put your chair to be the dining chair. Restaurant, anywhere you like. Okay, notebook and pen. Package of printing paper. Printer. Smartphone. I've updated it since we originally did this. I hadn't invented laptops or smartphones. I want you to work with somebody else, so you're with a partner. And I want you to invent the still image that you think she might have been in when the curtains first went back and the children saw that setup. Yeah? It's not paper notices, everything is there for real. 1, 2, 3, freeze. Have a really good look, everybody else, at somebody who's fairly near you. If you need to get up and have a look and walk round and do. And the question is, what might be the significance? Because we can only speculate at the moment. We can't speak to them, so we don't know what might be.
There's worry.
Is there?
There's
Right.
worry and there's concern about something.
Right.
Something's not straightforward.
Okay. Anybody else? What have you seen? Or what might you have seen? Because we don't know yet.
Maybe someone's ordering something from a catalogue.
Yeah. You know, she's looking, she's pointing at a pile of catalogues of professional kitchen equipment. 1, 2, 3, freeze. Now, I expect your speculations to be better this time, folks, because we've been working on it. So have a really good look and really speculate. Say to yourselves, what might she be doing and why?
The lady down here that he's made a mistake.
Oh, right. So she's having to think something out. Yeah.
Company up to speed.
Sorry?
Is the company she selected up to speed?
No, possibly not. Maybe she's got business problems. Yeah.
Sending an email over here.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Can you see who she's sending it to? Imagine. Can you hear what I'm doing this time? I'm responding to what each person says, or I might ask them a bit of a question. So she's actually corresponding to someone in China. Could you see whether the writing on the screen was English or Chinese?
Chinese.
It's Chinese, so you couldn't tell what it said. Except unless you had a Chinese child in the class, which would be great. Then he'd have to get it right. What is significant, or what could be significant in what they're doing? That's all you're looking for, right? What might be significant? Again, when I say begin now, start it. When you've finished, just freeze. Okay? Begin now.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if this is the right thing that I'm doing. What time's
Well, that isn't
I have to memorise it.
I expect this thing's done.
I need to keep a copy for myself, just in case.
Well, you don't.
Right, thank you.
I have to keep this somewhere safe. Put it in my files.
This gentleman started with a very interesting opening line.
Right.
That isn't what
Which
I
one?
expected. That isn't what I expected.
Right.
So maybe
But
speculate
something's happened.
what's going on and what's happening.
Right.
Mhm.
I hope it's not to do with our meeting.
Mhm.
Do you hear how I'm starting to talk as if we're really going there? Yeah? Our meeting, not theirs, because I'm in role, they're in role. Yeah? Okay, begin now. This is not my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, great.
What? But you promised. You promised.
This is not. Go right.
What have you seen?
A Chinese bowl's arrived, but it's the wrong one.
Really? And has he or she decided what they're going to do about that?
Yeah, I think she's phoned the company. She wants to speak to the manager. She's not happy. It's
Not
not the one
happy
she
at all?
needs.
What's the matter with it?
It's not the one she needs for next week.
Next week? That's when she's coming to the factory, isn't it? So, do you think that bowl's something to do with what we're doing next week?
Sounds really important to her.
I wonder if that's to do with the special instructions. It's a marvellous way to work, and it's a way of putting information in front of the children. But not so direct that they can't question it. That's the skill of it, to make it a bit problematic. Not too problematic, or they won't read anything into it. But problematic enough that there's and interesting enough that it hooks them and they want to pursue it. And that's the skill. Imagine the foyer of your business premises as you, the teacher, have prepared it for the children coming in for the first lesson. What is in the foyer that will give them clues as to what the business does? So, this group, you're going to be running a business called Party Plan. Okay? Party Plan. You're going to run a business called Kings of the Road. Right? You're going to be running a business called Four Paws. Right? And you're going to be running a business called Fix-Its. Okay? Your class, when they come, are not experts at whatever it is. Because they're not. Right? I mean, you're lot probably never heard of Elvis, for a start. Can you think of one or two very early things that you might do right the first half hour of the drama that will help them to move into the expertise that you are wanting to develop? Remember Dorothy's questions. What are the children doing and what are they learning?
Well, you sort of gave us the idea about the different sized balls for the different sized dogs, what we might need. So we thought of the idea of the different sized bowls, so that you give them the photographs of the different sized dogs,
Yes.
with the information on about the breed of dog, how big they are, how much food they need during the day.
What sort of
And it's
teeth
about,
they've got.
yeah, and it's about working out what size bowl each dog would
Yeah.
want and how many we'd need to order for that.
We do household repairs, and we have lots of different very well qualified tradespeople, and the problem is all the tools have gotten mixed up, and the first task is that the children working in groups each have a set of maybe paper tools representing the tools that have mixed up, and they have to sort them out for the different tradespeople and put them into their different groups. So maybe what does a plumber use? Would a plumber use this, or would a roofer use this? And to divide the different tools up for the different tradespeople.
We thought more to start with about how we'd actually introduce the idea of Elvis
Yes.
to the children. And we were thinking about having the idea of having the foyer set up as though it's the entrance to the company, and having a staff member at the desk, and having a really excited customer come in and a conversation between them about Elvis
Right.
and how wonderful he was, and to get the children's interest really.
Yeah, in my plan, we are going to make 3 still images.
Yeah.
First, they do the individual still images. Just imagine this is the
Yeah.
this is a party house, and they are participating in party. And what would they do? What
Yeah.
would it look like? The first image.
Yeah.
Second image, pair up in 2. One is the participant, one is the servant. So what do the servants serve? How do the servants serve
Yeah.
the participant? What's the best service that
Yeah.
they can provide? And the second image. The third image, group up in 3. One is the participant, one
Yeah.
is the servant, and one is something.
Yes.
It should be something that make the party really
Really good.
experience.
Okay.
So
we are putting the children in the frame as people who are running a museum, the Museum of Myths and Legends. So we've already got a museum, and Iona said to me the other day, which is a very good point, okay, we're doing an exhibition now about the Cherokees. Why are we doing it about the Cherokees? And that is the reason we've come up with at the moment, for our museum at the moment. 250 years ago, in 1762, 3 great Cherokee leaders visited England. They came in peace and met King George III. To commemorate this historic event, the Museum of Myths and Legends is proud to announce its latest exhibition, Myths of the Cherokees, coming soon, supported by the English Native American Friendship Society.
One of the things, how can we get them to care about stories as such? And what I was thinking is, how can we get them to care about the significance of stories? These were my thinking. It's muddled. I'm not saying it's right what we're doing, because it's an experiment. But I'm thinking, the children have got to care about the stories. And then I thought, it's about diary writing. Why does anybody make a note of anything? Why would anybody actually want to make it concrete and it's there for a long time, or there to look back on? Or there's all sorts of different reasons why people write diaries. I was just thinking about our own memories, really. And that can be a sensitive thing, so obviously we're looking at memories that you're happy to share with somebody and at this time. And I think if you're going back in your life when you're a child or something, it can be very distant. You can have a little bit of distance there, which is protective. And maybe select a memory that stays with you, that you always remember that moment. For whatever reason, it's kind of like the diary in your head, really. 4. Try and get in a position where you can keep it for a little time, please. 3, 2, 1. So we have our images, and there's quite a lot we could do with images. And if I look at this group here, there's one person who's bent her elbow and is looking down at her wrist. 2 others with their left hands raised. And one boy in the middle with his head in his hands. We've got people stretching, reaching up high, and another with their palms outwards. One person with her head facing the floor, her arms reaching upwards to another person. We have a pointing from the person in the centre, and a staring in front of them. A person bent low, head to the side, and her knee bent, looking forward. A person with his head in his hands, another with her fist curled tightly onto his shirt as if holding it. Another person leaning on another person with his finger outstretched, pointing towards the boy with his hand in his head.
I liked that you weren't trying to decipher what was going on.
Yeah.
It was more about just talking what was happening rather than what
It's not a guessing game.
It's not a guessing game. And there's always a danger of that, isn't there? Frozen images, I think, of a guessing game. But I was also trying to, I learned this from just trying to honour, I suppose, what you'd done. Acknowledge it. And make you feel that what you'd done was worth looking at and worth commenting on. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about that. So if we give you a piece of paper each and maybe just write a line from the point of view of one person whose memory is, because they would have written it that night. Step out and just explain to us. That day, what was that day?
The day was when the house across the road had flooded from the rains, and so the family had gone over to help.
If you go back into that, different responses as well, I would say. Would you like to read?
Today I wasn't sure whether I was in the middle of a dream or a nightmare.
I'm sure. So it's somebody here has had a dream, somebody here has had a nightmare. We don't know who it is. We might think in our own minds, we think we've got an idea who it is. Confusing sense of images, really. And I wondered, could we ask one of the people to step out and explain to us what that moment was?
This was my first day in South Korea at the age of 21.
Interesting, isn't it? So it seems to me this, again, is about a change, isn't it? My first day at school, his first day at Korea. It just makes you think why people remember things and why people make a note of things. That's what is kind of getting me to think about. I'm doing all the talking here. Do you think there's any themes?
The transformation that ingrains in your brain, so that's what makes it such a vivid and powerful memory. That sense of transformation.
Yeah. So it's like, anybody else want to?
I think it's we remember these things because they are powerful, but at the same time we we take notice of the bad things more than the good things.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, they're all quite not negative, but
negative, yeah.
Okay, negative, fine. I'll just come out and say it, but they are.
Yeah. Although it's a mixture, she was quite happy, wasn't she, about the floods? It was an excitement.
It tells us that they've recently made a recent discovery that she found in the attic of her own grandparents' house some documents, and they turn out it was inside a box and some objects with it. It turned out it seemed to have belonged to somebody called Jessie Smoke, who was alive at a time of great struggle. And they're telling us about this because they know we're doing an exhibition and they think these stories might be used in the exhibition. And there was a map that went with it, and they've made us a copy of this map to use in our exhibition. And it seems to have some connection with the stories in this diary.
What it actually looks like and what happens there, rather than...
It seems to be things that have happened there become the names. So,
quite a few of them seem to be about quite nasty events, don't they, actually? Blood Place.
And they name the places after animals. There are quite a lot of rabbits, bears, lizards, snake, pirates.
Could that have been lack of resources, so that if they needed rabbits, then they'd have to go to rabbit place or glitches, I suppose,
I know she's sending somebody later with the actual diary pages, but it seems that's too valuable to send on the post. That's coming later. But she did send some summaries which we could have a look at and see if we can work out if there is some connection between these stories in the diary and the map that it seems Jessie Smoke made.
It says all sorts of things.
Because we wondered about this octena, but we do have information there about this octena then. So it seems like it is an important creature since it's in more than one place, isn't it? Have we sorted out where the others might be connected with places.
Is that place of bread is where the corn was produced?
Oh, so
Where?
they produced corn from bread from corn.
Yeah.
Bread.
I hadn't thought of that, yes, but you could absolutely be right that it could be connected with the Selu story, is that what it's called? So it could absolutely be. The next major thing in our plan is that they will meet this person from the Cherokee Heritage Centre, who is going to bring the actual documents. And we're going to establish that this person, we've heard that they're going to come in actual. Well, we haven't had any Cherokees come to our museum before, have we? So it's quite a new thing. We've had important visitors, obviously, but this is quite new to us. And they did say, when they phoned, they did say that he would be wearing traditional Cherokee costume, which seems interesting that he would come in this. You were having some thoughts about this?
I did really. I was having some thoughts about it because we spoke to somebody who I think might have been a descendant, I don't know just what. Anyway, she said that she was going to come and see us. And she just said something about traditional dress, you know.
Just how, when our guest arrives, how we should prepare really for his entrance, and if he's going to be dressed in this ceremonial outfit, whether there's anything special we need to do.
You're wondering what expectations there will be of us, really. He's going to a lot of trouble, and I guess we need to, I suppose, find out how we would conduct ourselves. Because we know we're known for honouring people from different parts of the world, as you know.
One of the things that I hope the kids might pick up on is the letter that they've had from the Cherokee Heritage Centre. The first word was Osio, and then it said, this means hello in Cherokee.
Ah, nice. That's nice, Osio. And how should we be? Should we be as we are now, or should we be different? Should we conduct ourselves differently? I mean, in a physical way. Should we just be sitting, or should we stand?
Perhaps we should stand on his entrance.
Stand on his entrance.
Show him some respect.
I think we should each shake him by the hand, really.
Yes.
So there's no that he's made contact with each one of us before it's even started. Otherwise, it might be a bit intimidated by all these people, aren't we?
Yes.
In the Cherokee tribe, there used to be 7 clans. There was a deer clan and a wolf clan and so on. And the children are going to be, in working on this project, divided into teams. And each team will have the name of one of these clans for the duration of the project. And they may also choose a Cherokee name for themselves for the duration of the project. So they might well be, instead of John Jones, they might be John White Owl. So they might well introduce themselves. They might well decide when this Cherokee comes in to introduce themselves as Osio. I am John White Owl. Let's see how it goes. So I will probably get the children to help me, having negotiated that I'm going to take the role of our visitor, get them to put me in costume. So we talk that through.
Yeah, it's always a gift, isn't it, having another person in a classroom. Yeah. So you can say, you know, Mr. Allen, would you mind standing in as our Cherokee visitor? Here's David holding that as the Cherokee visitor. What's your name?
Tom Mooney.
Tom Mooney, yeah, sorry. Tom Mooney, the Cherokee. She's holding. See, David's talking to us really because I'm supposed to be facilitator, but he's talking. Good.
Just have it like that, and then.
Yeah. Yes. So it's really safe. It's really, you know.
And it's on his mind the whole time,
Yes.
you know, he's thinking about it.
Yeah, because he's come with that sole purpose, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what the visit's about.
What I have here is so important, and I hope that the people I'm going to visit understand how important these are to the Cherokee people.
So maybe when he comes as far
I think we need to smile, though.
We need to smile.
I think it's really important with smiling, so it's not too formal.
Yes, we smile. Smile. Not too big a smile. Because, I just wonder if we're going to mock him. We don't want him to think it's mocking. I'm not saying he would.
A middle smile.
A smile that's a reassuring smile, and not a false smile, a sort of openness in the face.
Maybe we should do it one at a time, like a little ripple. Because if we all do it, it might be a bit overwhelming for him. So maybe one at a time we could do it.
Sorry, I was in the toilet when we were talking about this. Bowing. You're going to bow? A small bow?
We haven't suggested bowing.
Because he's got his hands full, so it's quite difficult to, do a handshake.
No, we're not actually. We're going to put our hands like that, sort of an openness, not a. So just a sort of welcome, say hello. Oh, see you.
I see you.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, see you.
Hello. I see you. Hello. I'm very pleased to be here at long last to bring you these documents. Did you receive our other materials that we sent you? Did you receive the map?
Yes. Thank you.
I wondered what you made of the map and what your first thoughts were about it, because I know you are all experts in stories, although you may not know our stories. Perhaps you could tell me some of your plans for the exhibition.
We wanted to hear your interpretations of your story so that when we present it, we can give a truthful and accurate representation.
There's a story behind everything on the map, so we're interested in showing that to people.
Karen Cooper, who is, as you know, the director of the Heritage Centre, and Jessie Smoke was possibly her ancestor, did want me to make sure, before I handed these stories over, that they would be treated with respect. As I'm sure you understand, these stories are sacred to my people. And it's not just that we're concerned to make sure that you understand that, but that you will communicate that to your visitors.
Maybe you'd like to come round the museum and see our current exhibitions and how we respect the artefacts that are in our current exhibitions, and then hopefully that will help persuade you.
That sounds a very good idea. I would be interested to see your exhibitions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Woodley. We will try and arrange that viewing for you.
These have pages of in
they're
this.
Lovely. They're lovely.
You have got you've got some original documents. Well, they were produced by Denise, so you can look at these before you go. There's pages from the diary that Denise has produced, and there's also, we're going to say that some of the stories are the paper's too fragile, so they've been typed up, and we have typed up versions of the stories. And we're also going to say that there's materials that have been found, like photos and drawings in the archive, that we think are connected with the story in some way, which the children can look at and use, hopefully, in their exhibition. So you can have a little look at these before you go for lunch. But thank you very much for working with us this morning, because, as I say, I'm doing this tomorrow, so you give me lots of ideas, and I'm just sorry that Yona's not going to be there to facilitate it with me, and I'll be on my own. But thank you very much for this morning.
Thank you.
That questions can be referred to, or people from the floor might like to answer questions, or you may just want to say something. So, let's see what happens.
It strikes me that the head teachers of these schools are so significant in moving things forward.
Yeah.
You look at things like Grimley and Holt, where Richard was, and then came to Woodrow. I mean, he turned that school round in Grimley. It was a failing school, and Ofsted confirmed it succeeded, became outstanding, precisely because Mantle of the Expert was implemented. So how precise do you want to be, really? And I thought that was marvellous. Now he's doing Woodrow, where Lisa's come from, and others today, to share work with us, and he's running that school through Mantle, and that's a very challenging school. But in terms of secondary, I can see what you're saying, but I think it's more challenging in secondary,
From year 7 and year 8 as well, is that? Of the usual timetable or structure?
Yeah.
I mean, I have had experience in a couple of schools in Birmingham where we've been trying to work within the existing timetable. So I've done a lot of work with somebody called Ross Curry, who is now head of maths in a school in Stourbridge, where they are implementing Mantle of the Expert across year 7, and then it's going to be year 8, and across the whole teaching within the maths department to make maths interesting. But it has to be, we have had to rethink it, because of course in a primary school you can spend all day on Mantle of the Expert. In a secondary school you've got an hour, and then they have to move on. And then you might not see them for 2 days, so you've got to pick it up again. And the usual thing, the first session I did it with one of Ross's classes, we spent half an hour discussing, and then we had about 10 minutes to do something. And we sort of realised it's got to be very short, sharp, sharp, really. It's got to be clear task. This is the task for this hour, and then it finishes. And then this is the task for this hour. But there is an example of somebody who's trying to do it within the existing structure.
And I mean, I'm convinced that Dorothy would have been the last person to say, I've said that Mantle's like this, you've got to do it like this or else. It's not like that. She set up something. Just as she evolved it from the work she'd done before, every one of us will evolve our work from where we are now, depending on the variety of influences that we've had. And so what you end up with may not be what I call pure Mantle. That's one thing which I felt it was my duty to explain to you, which is fine, but it's not necessarily what you will end up being able to do, even if you wish to. We had a phone call that said, your dad's friend, aged about 99, has left you a bureau in her will, and it's sitting in an old people's home in Derbyshire, and you have to go and get it. So I happened to be driving through Derbyshire, and I went and got it. Now before it came, we were quite excited, because we knew that Kitty had some really nice furniture, and we thought, it's going to be really good, this bureau, because we haven't got one. And where will we put it? Well, we could put it there, we could move that, and you know, it would look really good there, and we got it all worked out. And when I brought it back, it was hideous. It wasn't a nice piece of furniture at all, it was old. And she'd obviously had it stood in the window by the sun, you know, and all the varnish was burned off. So we didn't really want to give it pride of place at all. It got tucked away in a back room somewhere, and we used it to just stuff things into, you know, in the drawers. So there's a legacy. Those of us who knew Dorothy and worked with her have tried to share with you some of what we picked up from Dorothy. So we're trying to do what Luke suggested and, you know, pass the legacy on. Now, Kitty's bureau sat in the back room and got stuffed with rubbish. And about 3 weeks ago, I sent it off on the community furniture van, because I didn't want it. So what are you going to do with Dorothy's legacy? You've got a lot of stuff in the drawers, haven't you, this weekend? They're full. I'm not going to go through with you what you've done. That's a waste of time. You know what you've done, don't you? Yes? Yes? You know what you've done. So I can only echo Luke, really, and say, don't send the bureau off to the community furniture. Because I don't know who'd get it. And there's certainly, I have a nasty idea it might have just gone to the tip, because it really was old and not a very nice piece of furniture. So all I can do in this 2 or 3 minutes summing up is to say, I go along with Luke, there is a legacy. You've now got a bit of it, depending on where you are in your own knowledge and experience. You can get more, you can do it, and you can pass it on. We think it's really important. That's why they had this weekend, you know, the West Midlands group. So, no community furniture bans, anybody. Put it in the hall, open the drawers, and let the stuff out. Okay?